Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, Keith, all the way from America. How are you?
Good morning. Pretty good. It's a little bit early here, 4 a.m., but I'm doing okay.
We
Got
appreciate the
coffee
fact
going.
you appreciate the fact you're up in the crack of the morning to.
Oh my God! It's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Respect, Keith. Wow, this must be a really important subject for you to talk about to get up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't do that
And
too
Lara,
often.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's not raining today. So.
Yes, for those who might have seen us last week, we had a slight issue with technicalities in terms of losing internet connection, and I had to shoot off. So we basically left our two guests to chat amongst themselves. It was very entertaining.
We did rather well, didn't we? I know. Keith, don't worry. We're good today.
We are not going to leave you alone.
Okay.
So this week we are joined by Keith Linder. Now, I could advertise him as an IT professional, 25 years working in both hardware and software industries, but that's not why you are here. Because in 2012, you moved into a house, and I suppose it's safe to say that things were never the same again.
Yeah, pretty much. That's putting it lightly. Yeah.
I think probably the easiest thing to do is, rather than me try and paraphrase exactly what's been going on since 2012, why don't you tell us what happened?
Well, yeah, May 2012, me and my girlfriend, Tina, moved into a house right outside Seattle, Washington. And I would probably say right away, within minutes, we started experiencing what we now know today is paranormal phenomena or poltergeist phenomena. We didn't know that at the time, obviously, and things started happening rather slowly but surely. And then all of a sudden, things just escalated, and by then it's usually too late. But yeah, we moved in, and the first thing we experienced day one of moving in was a kid cough, a phantom, disembodied kid coughing. The noise that come from upstairs is a two-story, separate unit, single unit home dwelling. Me and Tina were downstairs talking, and the kid cough interrupted our conversation. And we, having never had paranormal experience or activity before, ignored it, shrugged it off, laughed it off, thought it was weird, but we felt it had to come from outside. We thought that noise, that kid call, and we have no children, by the way. So we ignored it. And then as we moved in, days and weeks later, we started noticing our belongings missing. Personal items are now missing. Tina's jewelry, earring, bracelet, watch, my car keys, my second or extra set of car keys were missing. And we thought that was kind of weird, but once again, we just moved in. Things tend to get lost when you move. So we ignored that. And then what was even weirder is silverware, kitchen utensils started missing. And then kid toys started appearing. Kid toys that neither me nor Tina own. We don't have children, we don't have kids. And you wake up in the morning, you come downstairs before you go to work to make a cup of coffee, and there would be kid toys spread out on the kitchen counter, kitchen table, staircase. And that was weird. So we thought we were being pranked. We thought this was a practical joke that our neighbors do to new house guests, to new people who move in the neighborhood. It's kind of extreme. It's kind of weird. I would never do that, but okay. Finally, what made us finally recognize that we were not the only ones living in the home was a night me and Tina were watching TV. And I kid you not, while we're watching TV, there's a plant that belongs to Tina. It's about 4 foot tall that stands by the TV or the entertainment center. And it just shoots up in the air. The plant does. It darts off the ground a few inches and does a 360-degree spin in the middle of the air. And then it falls back to the floor towards us. And I look at Tina, she looks at me, and we walk toward the plant, and we thought, okay, aha, this is where the joke finally comes home. We're obviously being pranked. We're on some TV show that we did not are aware of, that we joined by accident. But there was none of that. There was no remote control device. There was no wire. There was no handheld device. So finally we realized, I think we have a ghost living with us. And to be quite honest, that's when the activity took off. After that realization of the plant, it was all downhill from there.
Because I mean that's an interesting point, because I think what you'd say is that you would say up until that point everything was, as you said, it could have been a neighbor pulling a prank. Because very often when people look back on this and they're going to review this, they're going to say, well, why don't you just move out? Why don't you what the minute you got something happening, it's the Hell House, the Poltergeist, would just move out. But you don't think that way. It's just it's very subtle. It's just progressive. So that minute you then saw this plant pot moving with no apparent cause, did you at that point elevate this to the best prank you've ever seen, or did you now think, oh my God, this house is haunted?
We thought it was the best prank we ever seen up until the time we started rummaging through the plant and could not find any wire, any string, any remote control device. And when we was hoping to find that. I mean, you're hoping to find the prank, right? But what you're left with is, okay, it's a ghost. Now, the poltergeists are two different things. We thought it was a kid ghost. I think it was Tina or myself who said that night, I think we have a kid ghost living with us, because we went back in our head to the kid cough. We went back to the kid toys in the house, and we're like, okay, a kid ghost is not bad, because we went to the internet, we typed in, how can you tell if your house is haunted? We're online, we're searching. We know nothing about the paranormal. And the internet told us that you probably have a ghost with you, a kid ghost. It happens. They're usually confused. They're lost. These things will taper off over time. Here's what you should do. There was plenty of instructions on what we should do, no instructions on what not to do. Okay. So we followed the instructions of, whenever the kid ghost acts up, talk to it like a parent, like a parent talks to a child, like, hey, cut that out. Hey, stop doing that. Hey, why don't you go into the light? Why don't you be at peace, be at rest? And every time we tried that, we printed off the instructions off the internet, more activity would happen. Larger objects got thrown. The bangs got louder, the stomping of footsteps, dunk, 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 dunk. The door slams, and everything I'm talking about happens abruptly. There's no precursor or no warning to any of it. I mean, me and Tina could be having dinner, and all of a sudden, out the blue, a plant goes zooming across the room. A plant, big size plant, and it crashes on the wall, bursts into 1,000 pieces, and the only thing you can do is clean up the debris. And that started happening every night. And you would say, hey, stop that out, cut that out. Hey, that's not nice. And it would just get more, and more.
We're starting to get some feedback from other people. So if you have experienced any kind of poltergeist activity or any really strange, potentially violent paranormal activity in your house or location where you've lived, do let us know. Send in comments and we will try and get back to you. John Spratt, who joined us a few weeks ago, has put commands. I don't know what he means. Lara, what does he mean, commands?
Do you know, I was looking at that mistake. I think what he means is that remember that you're always in charge, right? You're in command, of it.
Right.
See, when activity actually happens, right? And this is my guess. He's going to probably message now and say I meant something totally different. But always remember, right, that they can't be there without your permission, right? That you're always in charge. So when you're getting activity, right, often it can come off the back of, anxiety, stress, right? So have you noticed, and although I'm talking here in myself at the moment, right, it is common to get a lot of poltergeist activity round about teenagers as well. Have you heard of that, Jonathan?
I have indeed, yes.
Right. So therefore, a heightened activity, heightened hormonal activity, right? Teens can often be really anxious about stuff as well. The energy that because they're going through so much growth, and the energy that the inner self that the person and the teenager's developing, right? The brighter the light, the bigger the bugs, right? Always remember that saying, right? So the amount of energy you give off is like a light for activity on the other side, and it draws it in, particularly the nasties.
But I think with any rule that I've ever encountered in the paranormal world, there are then plenty of exceptions to them, to the point where it's almost like not even a rule at all. So, but in this, for example, there was
a starting point. Yeah, you maybe look at them as rules, and then it's about disbanding those. Let me be quite clear. When I put those in place, it's a starting point. All right. And then you can have, you can do the process of elimination and stuff after that. It's not something that I would live hard and fast by.
But for example, in this case, there was no teenage child in the house.
No, but he just moved house. How were you feeling before moving house? To the new place that you went? Were you wanting to move house? Was it because moving house is one of the most stressful things you can do next to death, dying, marriage, right? It's right up there, divorce, right? Moving houses can be really stressful, particularly if you're a highly sensitive person.
Yeah, well, what made this case interesting, and you're right, what we know about poltergeists, and there's a lot of theories as to what causes them. And one of those, like you mentioned, is the adolescent, puberty, stress in the environment. But me and Tina, we had zero stress. Matter of fact, the opposite. We were gleeful. I had just got a new job, a new promotion. Me and Tina were not living together. This is our first time living together. She had her place, I had mine. We had no activity in our prior residence. And this was a new home. This home was built in 2005. We moved in 2012. And, it was weird because, and going back to what you said about poltergeists, most of the activity in poltergeist homes, the house occupants have been in the establishment a while. The investigator comes in and determines that there's been something changing in the environment that, for lack of a better word, awoken the poltergeist. Here we are moving in and heard the kid cough, and it was like a light switch went on the day we walked into the home. What we later discovered, and this came out during the investigation that I did, is a family, a mother, husband, and 3 children who lived in the house in 2008, 2009, had almost identical activity. I had to find them. They were very hard to find, and I was lucky to find them. But I asked the wife, the mother, without telling her what we were going through, because I didn't want to give it away. I needed for her to, if there's anything tell me, and then I'll nod my head if you're right. And she told me what they experienced. And I kid you not, everything they experienced, we had already experienced. They woke up to finding their kitchen cupboards wide open. They had door slams. The children complained of phantom voices, phantom footsteps, TVs going off and on, TVs changing by themselves. And the son, one of the youngest child in the home, would always complain of seeing shadowy figures. And I had seen those too. And I didn't divulge that to anybody, not even to Tina, because I was still digesting it mentally. And then when she told me her son saw them, and her son, mind you, his bedroom is now my office. And my office is where I saw the shadowy figures. So that was an education for me, and that made me know that, number one, we're not crazy, me and Tina. We didn't bring this in the house with us. It was here when we got here. And that's one of the things that makes this case so interesting as far as poltergeist is. You have a poltergeist that could possibly go docile, go into hibernation mode for the 5 to 6 years in between when we moved in and when they lived there. However, whatever synergy we had, and we'll never know what that synergy is, awakened it to make it want to interact with us. And it was very violent. I mean, what we experienced escalated far past than what the previous tenants experienced.
So, I mean, there was lots of people who've been posting some questions, and they wanted to know about the history of the home and before. So I was going to ask, have either of you ever experienced this form of paranormal activity before? So I'm basically trying to narrow it down, whether something followed you, or was there something in the house? And obviously the previous occupants have experienced, so we can assume or postulate that it was something already in the house.
Yeah, and that goes, and there's, like I said, a percentage of poltergeist cases is what Steve Merrill, parapsychologist Steve Merrill, labeled land-locked phenomena, where you have the phenomena could be tied to the land underneath the home, and that's what this seems to be. In addition to what Rhonda, that's the previous tenant's mom, the mother of the wife, that's her name, that they had activity. So yeah, it was just interesting to the fact that I was relieved to know that it didn't follow us, or we had it with us, because there was no signs when I lived elsewhere.
Yeah,
I knew zero about the paranormal. So when I learned that Rhonda and her family were having activity, then now it becomes a case of, aha, it was here when you guys got here. The question now is, what do you do? You know, what you're here now. You've planted, you're moved in. Now what do we do? And that's the hard part, dealing with, because the poltergeist, I think the thing that's similar, if almost identical to every poltergeist case, is things start off gradually, almost you can ignore it to a point, but when it defies logic, you can't ignore it anymore. And that's usually when a large object goes flying or your couch levitates. You just can't ignore that anymore. There's no rational explanation for flying furniture except poltergeist. So now what do you do to lessen that? And the poltergeist is full steam. Once the seal has been broken, they're full steam ahead. And by the time we were playing catch up to this activity, it was doing something else. Like, it would throw objects, and we were like chasing the objects that it threw. And then you would tell it to stop, or you would bring paranormal teams in, you take pictures, photographs, and then it's off doing something else. So as you're cleaning up the debris of the objects that it's thrown, it's starting fires now. Okay, so it's like, well, now I got a fire, way different than objects being thrown. I now have spontaneous fires erupting in my home, where I got to bring in the fire department, and they are scratching their head. They're like, We don't know what caused this fire.
I want to come on to how this escalated, but before we do, let's clear up in terms of the building and the house. Do you know what existed on that land before this house was there?
Yeah, Bothell, Washington, in the city of Washington, or in the state of Washington. Back in the mid to 1800s, it was Native American land. I don't know if you've seen the wall writings in my office. Some of the wall writings in my office that the Poltergeists wrote, not I, was written in Native American language, or what we call calligraphy or pictography of the upside down man symbol. And that was a clue. That was a breadcrumb. That was very interesting. It was almost like the Poltergeist was trying to tell us why it's there, why it's upset. Okay. And that symbol, the upside down man, is a Native American symbol. It means a man has died or a man is about to die. And usually there's two definitions for that, meaning a man was either murdered or a man died of smallpox. Smallpox back then in the 1800s in the state of Washington was prevalent. Over 400,000 Native Americans lost their lives to smallpox in the state of Washington alone. Over 500 lost their lives in Bothell, the city that we're now in. And it seemed to be related to that, especially when you take into account the black oil. If you saw the black oil on my wall, when I had it analyzed, meaning we put it under scrutiny and had it tested, the results were incinerated buffalo bone, incinerated buffalo or bison bone. And it's 100% organic. It's not man-made. And nobody knows where it came from. But it was large quantities on the wall. And the Poltergeist, out of all the, and I say this in my book, of all the things it could have chosen to write on my wall, because it's my office, I got markers, I got pens, I got, all that stuff is readily available. The Poltergeist chose to write in an incinerated buffalo bison bone called bone black, bone char. And it wrote that multiple times on the wall, on the ceiling. And that's something Native Americans use for calligraphy and pictography. So you got two things there. You got the bone black, which is used for pictography. And now you got the upside down man symbol, which is a calligraphy or pictography, is drawing, it's picture drawing. And the Poltergeist is using that. And then you got the history of Bothell, which has over 500 Native Americans who died of smallpox in mid-1800s. And then now you fast forward to 2012, new neighborhood, new house built on top of old land. And now you have this weird phenomena taking place, and nobody's the wiser until you spend hours and hours in a library. You have to dig up that history.
So in terms of the escalation, what happened next? So we had the plant pot. It's obviously over a long period. Was it the books that had been burnt? Was that what happened next?
Oh, well, actually, it's weird. And like I said, this is one of the things that make this case interesting. Is because 2012, I told you what happened. The plants flying, the loud bangs, the footsteps, the door slamming. There was one apparition sighting, the gray lady. She turned the lights off. She takes off running. Tons and tons of electrical malfunction in the home. Nothing works electronically or consistently. And then the activity just stops. Around November, December of that year, 2012, the activity comes to an abrupt halt. And that's sort of explains why we stayed around so long, is because right when we're about to just throw in the towel and leave, the activity stops. Now, we don't know why it stopped. We're told in advance that these things run a cycle, but nobody knows exactly what the cycle is because every case is different. But when it stops, we're like, okay, they left, they're gone. And all of 2013, we had no activity, zero paranormal activity, the whole year of 2013. 2014, the activity came back. And when it came back 20 times worse. All that stuff I told you before about door slams and kid toys, that's not the problem anymore. Now it's large furniture being thrown. And by large furniture, I mean an armoire, 300-pound armoire, bar stool, love seat, couch. And you're just sleeping one night, and you've totally forgot that you even had a ghost in your home 2 years ago. And now you're sleeping and it's like, 1 a.m. and you hear a loud bang, right? And you run out of your room, and the armoire that took 3 men to move upstairs when we moved in the house is now on the other side of the hallway, and there's a huge hole in the wall. And from that point on, it was hell. And then more stuff. Now, the interesting thing about the burnt Bibles, and I want your listeners to understand, is the Bibles I owned. The Bibles are always in my library. The reason why the Bibles caught fire is now me and Tina are calling churches, we're calling paranormal investigators, we're calling friends, we're calling family, and everybody's telling us, and it's good advice on this face, it sounds like good advice, is you want to display your religious belief openly. If you're a Christian, you're a Catholic, if you're Episcopalian, whatever your belief is, you want to start putting that paraphernalia out there to keep the spirits at bay. They'll get the message and they'll leave. So I took my Bibles out of my library and I would put them on the bookshelf or the coffee table, and I would open it up to my favorite verse or Tina's favorite verse, and we would go to bed. We would say, hey, this is our home. We live here. You don't belong here. Leave us alone, and go to bed. Well, you turn your back, and now you got burnt Bibles. Now your Bible is catching fire. It's like tit for tat. They are counteracting everything we're doing. It's like they're trying to let us know. It becomes a psychological warfare of cat and mouse. Of we try this, and they take that what we tried, the Bible, and just light it on fire. We are terrified of that, obviously, right? Whoa, you just burnt the Bible. Whoa, who burns a Bible? What kind of power are we dealing with that can burn a Bible at will? And burn 3 of them. Matter of fact, everyone we put forth, they caught fire. So you tell the church, and everybody's scratching their heads because nothing's working, and that's typically how Poltergeist works. Nothing's working, except it's getting worse and worse and worse. And so the more we try, the more the Poltergeist tries. And to me, that's the escalation right there. You are now in the midst of warfare and escalation, because it's a battle now. Who has the will? Who's going to win this? The Poltergeist or Keith? Who's going to win?
I'm going to try and play a little one of the videos that you have. Hopefully this is coming through.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not burnt, that's incinerated.
Incinerated, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was Bible number 3, and as you can see, that Bible is useless now. and the 2 previous one had a similar damage, a similar fate,
but does kind of the whole Native American thing and the fire thing in the Bible, right? Setting the fires and stuff. There's a correlation there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's become incendiary because, if you look at it from a Native American's point of view, especially back in the 1800s, in Bothell, Native Americans were either given 2 choices: convert to Christianity, or lose their land, lose their home, lose their life.
Yeah.
And here I am. Here, me and Tina come 150 years later, and we're using Bibles sort of similar of what they do. And like I said, this is an example of the kitchen cabinets
Oh my God.
and that happened almost every day, every night. And what's interesting about that, there's no sound, there's no noise.
They're
you
just
could be they just open. You could be in the next room over. I mean, you can be in the next room over and come in the kitchen and the kitchen looks fine. Get a glass of water, leave the room, come back 10 seconds later, and that's what's there waiting for you. There's no rhyme or reason except the fact that this is what poltergeists are documented or known for throughout history of doing this. So you see the cameras. You saw this one upstairs in the hallway by the Bible. These are the cameras I erected, and as you can see, they're facing up. The poltergeist has put them in that position, not me.
And when you think about it, if you were to even open them all physically, it would take you longer than 10 seconds.
Way longer than 10 seconds. Yeah, we tried it. I tried to duplicate it. When I tried it, it takes longer than 10 seconds. There's noise. It's never perfect. Here you have something that does it within an eye blink. It's almost, I would say, instantly, which just adds to the mystery of, how is that done? Nobody knows, but yeah, it just riddles the mind to. It's scary in the sense of, you don't have power in your own home. You have no control. And like I said, you could turn your back. We've turned our back to objects and those objects fly. We've turned our backs to objects and those objects are gone. I set a cup of water down, a coffee cup or a coffee mug down, and get distracted, turn back around to retrieve it, and it's gone. It's not moved elsewhere. It's gone. It's still gone to this day. It's just gone. Where it's at now, nobody knows. Kitchen cabinet doors open. The previous tenants, what you just showed, Rhonda, they had that happen to them all the time. And that's why I didn't tell her what we were experiencing, because I need to hear her be organic with her experience and tell me, because I need to connect the dots. And when she told me, oh yeah, we would come downstairs and all the kitchen cabinet doors are open. And I knew she's telling me the truth because we're having that. We're dealing with that, And if you read other poltergeist cases, that's one of the precursors of activity is the rearrangement of the kitchen. Once again, no rhyme or reason. It could be any continent you're on. It's happened. But yeah, it's very discerning because we are not in control of our house. We just live there.
You basically were lodging in the poltergeist domain, right?
Yeah.
This whole like a man's castle type thing, you didn't really get to be comfortable and get your slippers and feet under the table, and it became your new normal by the sounds of it.
Yeah, you're pretty much at the mercy because everything happens unexpected, right? And there's always something new, and what's new is always going to be worse than the previous. Me and Tina would go to bed and we would explain to ourselves what's going to happen tomorrow. Like I said, when the first Bible caught fire, we were terrified because the first Bible caught fire at 1:34 in the morning. We were terrified. And we were waking up to the fire alarms ringing. Imagine you're sleeping. We all have fire alarms in our home, hopefully. And you're sleeping, and we all have the fear of fire. Nobody wants to be in a house that burns down. You have a fear of it. What that fear magnifies by 20 in the middle of the night while you're sleeping. And you wake up to a fire alarm, you're like, oh, did I forget to turn the kitchen on? Did I leave a stove on? Did I leave the fire pot going? You're not thinking poltergeist. You run out of your door and you see a Bible burning on the ground. In front of you, a Bible, flames on and everything. Now you're thinking, well, you're not really thinking poltergeist then. You're thinking Satan. You just like this power, this energy, this spontaneous ploy, because the Bible, I didn't go to bed and put the Bible by my door. I put the Bible on my kitchen book on the bookshelf. Now the Bible's at my doorstep in my bedroom door. The poltergeist put it there, and it's on fire. The fire alarms are doing what they're supposed to do. And my heart's beating outside my chest. I'm frantic. I'm sweating. And I know the poltergeist is somewhere in the corner just feeding off that fear energy. It's like, yes, this is what we do. This is what we do. And I closed the book. I put the fire out. And I'm just in awe that this is even happening. I mean, this feels like a movie now. I feel like I'm watching a movie. I am the movie. Me and Tina, you are the movie. You're being haunted. You and Tina are being haunted. It's not the house that's haunted. We're haunting you and Tina. That was a deliberate act on our part to put the Bible in front of your doorway because we want you to see it.
Yeah.
And you're powerless. You're right. It's not my home. I'm not the king of the castle. I thought I was. I would like to be, but I'm not the king of the castle. No, something else is running.
Do to you long? I mean, my God, were you in therapy? Did you end up in therapy? Because probably most of us would.
Therapy, counseling, consoling.
Yeah.
A lot of hours in the Catholic Church's office.
Did you get?
I mean, they're beating you down. You're so beat down. You're so sleep deprived. You're angry. You're irritable. You're arguing with each other now. Just lack of sleep. When you have lack of sleep, you make more mistakes, and you lash out at the spirit that you can't see. You're talking to the ceiling, like cut it out. I mean, this is real. I mean, a poltergeist would throw something at me, and I would pick whatever it threw and throw it back. What am I throwing it at? I'm throwing at my own wall. I'm putting holes in my own wall.
Looks like you're throwing something at fresh air. Yeah.
Things are hitting me on the head, and I'm mad. I'm frustrated. So I take the objects, and I'm lashing out. And the poltergeist takes that and dumps more on me. Not in that they're not a.
That's not even a fair fight.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's like it's not a fight. It's not a fair fight. I have to sleep. We're human beings. We have to get a certain amount of hours of sleep to be productive the next day. The poltergeist doesn't have to sleep. It doesn't. When I get 4 hours of sleep and still have to go to work, I'm dozing off at work. I'm dozing off in traffic. I'm dozing off in my car. I'm calling the priest, telling him what happened the night before. I'm calling Tina to remind her to do this, and that. We're tired. My cell phone won't hold a charge. It just mysteriously loses battery power, or when I talk to Tina, the phone hangs up on its own, which makes it more frustrating because Tina gets mad. She's like, why did you hang up on me? I'm like, I didn't hang up on you. Why did you hang up on me? So that becomes an argument. And then you gotta come home 8 hours later and do it all over again. And you come home and you see what you saw. Kitchen cabinet doors open. Love seat couch upside down. Another Bible's been burnt. All the cameras are unplugged. It becomes, you become a prisoner psychologically, and and other people say, well, just run, just leave, just get out of there, just go. Well, at that point, it's a battle of wills. It's a battle of, I don't want to be run out of my own home. I moved here. It's my home. And who's to say it won't follow me? Who's to say it won't go where I go when I move? Because then we really got a problem. And believe it or not, it did. When I lived in that home, when I would travel on business, now I'm in a hotel room. I'm 500 miles away from the Bothell house. And Tina won't stay in the house by herself. She stays with a friend. Well, I'm in my hotel room thinking I've gotten away from the house and the spirits. No. The spirits let it be known. No, we're here. And they would yank the sheets off my bed while I'm sleeping, or yank the pillow from underneath me. Just yank the pillow. You're sleeping, right? And your pillow is yanked, or the sheets are yanked. And this is, this is following me. Yeah, this is me traveling on business I'm happy and ecstatic that I'm not in the house. I'm like, whoa, I'm gone for a week. I'm on the other side of the country, and Tina's with her friends. I'm finally going to get some 8 hours sleep. No. The Poltergeist let it be known the first night you're in the hotel by pulling your sheets, by yanking your covers, yanking your pillow, and then you're at the mercy. Then now I'm asking, and I feel embarrassed to even say it. Now I'm asking the Poltergeist. I'm asking the malevolent spirit, please, can I have some sleep? Please leave me alone. I'm using the word please now. Now I'm the subordinate. I've become the subordinate.
Any thoughts of it being, right, because all these things are, I'm going to the Bermuda Triangle thing, right? I'm going to is there some sort of end, because planes disappear with the Bermuda Triangle, right? We've got one not far from here in Moffat where planes and golfers and that have disappeared, right? So you're looking at the way that energy works that we don't actually know of right now, okay? When cups disappear and stuff disappears, right? And then the drawers are all coming out and the cupboards are open. But when it's following you to an entirely new place, right? Like a hotel room and that's a game changer. Again.
Yeah. That's a whole mental, psychological, you almost want to throw it in the towel because now it's following me. Now it's almost like
I can put a theory to that because we've progressed now from a range of paranormal activities to a full-blown poltergeist activity, and the reason why you have called it the Hell House is that things did change quite substantially. And if anyone follows or anyone knows anything about demonic possession, there is a series of it's not like the films, although The Conjuring showed it quite well. It doesn't go from zero to being levitated and pea soup everywhere. There is a level of fear. Fear starts, then it's oppression, and part of that oppression is that then it will follow you around because it's gone from nothing. You've entered its domain. It's now attached itself to you, and it needs to oppress you. And that oppression is that reminding you, I'm still here. I'm going to follow you around.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm here with you, Keith. Once again, you're powerless. You don't know when the activity is going to erupt. You're isolated. It's not like I can pick up the phone and call the hotel manager and say I got a poltergeist.
Damn, poltergeist is following me around.
I was going to say, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters.
Who's going to believe me? He's probably gonna check me out, right? But the only person who understands what I'm going through is Tina. And she's half a country away, and so now it's almost you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You really want to go leap out the window from the hotel, but yeah, you're right. It's an oppression. I tell people who come to me and they say, "Oh, I wish I could experience something like that." I'm like, "No, you don't. You don't control the on and off switch.
No,
and you don't control the magnitude of the activity." I've had clothes catch fire while I was wearing them. My clothes caught fire one time while I was wearing them. You don't want to experience that. Tina saw my clothes catch fire because my shirt, we were putting out a fire in my office, and then as I'm fighting the fire in my office, my computer's incinerated, burning, my clothes catch fire. We've extinguished the fire, and we're now in the hallway. Fire is gone, and my clothes start catching fire. And Tina sees it before I do, and just yanks my shirt off me, and my shirt is on fire. And I tell people, you don't want to experience that, because that is serious, malevolent, haunting, or attack.
Keith, I've got so many questions for you. So I have, seriously, I mean, that's a game day. Literally tried to kill you.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I would say the escalation is at full capacity.
My God, look at that.
Second, this is the office. That's one of the Bible. See, this chair. This is a metal chair. This is the chair that's broken in half. That's an upside down cross. That's a scissor stabbed in the wall. That scissor is stabbed in the wall. That's a cross that was in the hallway that the Portuguese put on the scissor. And it just rearranged. See those scratches? Those are the scratches it did to the wall. Like, I don't know, like claw marks or something. And you see that black tar stuff? That's the fire. That was the poster that caught fire. Those two monitors that you see, they're not burnt there, but they will catch fire eventually. That's the two monitors that caught fire. I think it was fall of 2014. And yeah, it just total destruction. And that's just one room. That's just my office. And me coming home finding that stuff, and you see that. And it's like I said, this chair, this is the kitchen chair. I don't know why it's there.
Oh my God, it's got a cross on the floor as well.
Yeah, it drew a cross on the floor as well.
Is that a knife in the book?
Yeah, it put that in the book on purpose. That chair, it broke in half. That's a metal chair, and you see it resting on. I didn't leave that chair like that. That chair used to be sitting upward. It split the chair in half and put the stem of the chair on the Bible.
Did you hear any of this before, like as it was done, or it was just?
No. We can't. No, you just come home. We come home to this. So that's the bookshelf where the Bible should be. That's one of the guest bedrooms. It didn't attack that room that day. Normally it would, but that day, that lamp's been thrown a few times. And most of the time we come home and find that. You find that stuff. It takes all your cameras and turns them off or unplugs them. And that's every day. This is summer 2014 right here. This is summer 2014. This is the master bedroom. It didn't attack the room that day, but normally all this stuff is scattered all over the place. See that big dresser drawer right there? That's been thrown around. That's heavy. It takes 3 guys to move that. So it's drawn crosses in the bathroom, not that day, but it's drawn crosses on the wall, or the mirror, I should say, in the bathroom. And like I say, utter silence, no noise, no, that plant has been teleported several times. Okay, this is the armoire I was telling you that has been thrown multiple times. As you can see, the drawers are pulled out. There's clothing on the floor. We had to put that armoire in that bedroom because it was just being thrown around too much in the hallway. It used to be in the hallway. This is the hallway. The armoire used to be on that left side of the wall, and it would be thrown so many times that we had to move it. And like I said, this kitchen chair, that's the kitchen chair that I sit in personally and downstairs. I have no understanding of why it's facing the TV like that, but it did that several times of putting the chair right there in front of the television. As you can see, this is the chair split in half. You see the wheels on the floor and the chair on my computer desk.
This thing cost you a fortune.
Oh, it's considerable as far as money-wise. For those who always say, oh, he's faking it or da-da-da-da. No, these are damages done to personal items. You see the dents in the walls, the holes in the walls, the damage done. Furniture, that chair has to be replaced with another chair because as you see, it's split in half. Okay, I can't use that chair anymore.
Exactly. It's not like you're going to do that yourself and cause yourself all that,
Right.
not emotional damage and physical. It tried to set fire to your clothes. It tried to kill you.
Yeah, it set fire to clothing, belongings. It burnt my 2 computer monitors. Those are expensive monitors. This is the kitchen. So these chairs are rearranged. Let's see this?
I mean, you wouldn't have them there anyway, away from for God's sake. Nobody would do that normally.
Yeah, so this is the chairs rearranged. We don't know what that means, but they're like in a set of 3. The bar stools are behind them. All these chairs should be by the table. See, these are the bar stools that pulled out. And yeah, it's just the weirdest setup ever as to why that's like that. What's going on?
Of course, as a medium, right? You see, the more that you see, the more that you can't not see after that, right? And then so on and so forth. So the same with a poltergeist is that once your attention, once you're experiencing that, there's part of your mind that's going to be pre-anticipating, you know, it going to be happening again. But it looks like it's up in the ante here, isn't it? It's really, you can't make that up. You can't, it's not like you get up and you're sleepwalking doing that. It's not like you can be in the hotel room and cause that situation to happen at home.
Well, yeah, most of that stuff happened when we were not at home, but the house is heavily alarm system.
Yeah. Did it the alarm? Were the alarms disconnected? Did it short the alarms?
Not the perimeter alarm. What was odd about this thing is the perimeter alarm, the ADT security was never turned off.
Right.
It does a timestamp of who comes in and out of the house. So it will record where Tina would leave. You can see that and no, nobody's coming in after us doing this.
That's evidence to me that it's happening in the actual home. And if you're not there, then something's doing that in the home. These alarms are, yeah, they're
doing that in the home. And you're right. Every activity begets a new, higher activity. Like I said, when my clothes caught fire, we had already had 3 Bibles burnt, a poster caught fire. I never imagined in my wildest nightmare that my clothing would catch fire. You know, I had to do my own research of poltergeist cases to realize that there are other stories where people's clothes have caught fire. That just, the brain doesn't, you're not raised with that data in your brain. So when it happened to me, and I'm telling people who've been in the paranormal field all their life, and they're like, dude, that's a level of oppression very few people achieve. When a poltergeist or whatever it is decides to light you on fire, you're in trouble. That means you are in the crosshairs.
I love that word, Keith. The word achieve, like it's something to be proud of. You know, it's like when you're in that terrifying situation, it's not, is it?
No, it's the worst achievement you ever want because, like I said, you can't turn it off.
No.
I've been attacked, scratched, pushed, clothing shredded. I'm talking about shredded to confetti. Same thing with Tina. I've had chef knives thrown at me. I'm talking about a chef knife thrown at me that zooms past you and hits the wall and gets planted in the wall. The amount of force of that projectile to where if you were to be on the receiving end of that, it would do considerable physical damage. I think the poltergeist excels more on the mental damage. Physical, but the mental is what they're after. I always tell people, because they say, well, the poltergeist could have killed. I'm like, if the poltergeist wanted me and Tina dead, it could kill us anytime it wanted. I think they love the thrill of the hunt, but they would not mind if me and Tina killed each other. they would be okay if we did that.
To make you feel like they're feeling. Because isn't that what people do in physical everyday life? But Keith, really, are you still in that same house or have you moved?
No, I moved, thank God. I moved May of 2016.
Right, and people that are staying in there now, right, have they experienced it, or is it a bit like, let's shut the door, move on, and don't even say nothing about it and hope for the best?
There's a husband and wife who lives in the home now.
Yeah.
And they knew when they bought the home that it was haunted. I don't know the degree of the haunting that they know of. I have not gone back to the home because keep in mind, I still have activity where I'm living now.
Right.
I don't have the fires and the violent stuff, but I still have attachments. Now, I didn't have these attachments before the house, but the attachments that I have now, I was experiencing in the Bothell house. And what I mean by that is I still get poked and prodded while sleeping. I still every now and then get jabbed in my rib cage by an invisible finger or hand. The mattress indentations, you feel like an invisible cat or dog jumped on the bed with you. You can feel the bed mattress go down or up. I hear the squeak the mattress makes when somebody's raising off the bed. You hear the tapping on the headboard, the scratching on the headboard. The heartbeats, I hear the heartbeats coming from both mattress and pillow case. Disembodied heartbeat. It's like a thump, like you and I, but it's more rapid. It's very fast paced. Coming from both, and this is happening when I go hotel, whatever. So that's still happening. That's still, I mean, last night, this morning, when I go back to bed, that'll be there. But nothing physical, no kitchen cabinet, no wall writings, no Bible. Every now and then, electronic malfunction. Every now and then, I still see shadowy figures. The shadow figures still come in and out of peripheral. You know, they circle around. You know, they love to always hang around the corners of the room or the corners of the bed.
Wow.
It wouldn't surprise me if the shadow figures and the heartbeats and the poking and the prodding were all the same thing. It just feels like they are. But that hasn't subsided. No, we're not 2020 now. I've been out of the house 4 years, and that's still going on.
And the people that have moved in, you don't know whether they're having activity in the house at all?
Haven't talked to them. Have not reached out to them. We know from Rhonda, who lived in the house 2008, 2009, they had activity. There were 3 families between them and us. I have never talked to those families. So we don't know if the activity goes docile, if it goes into hibernation. The family that's in the house now has been in the house 4 years. We've not heard anything. But I've not knocked on their door. I feel that basically if they were going through something, I would know about it already. Because they know how to reach me. I'm easy to find.
It's difficult not to take it personally, isn't it? When all this really kicked off, and then to have that year, right, where nothing happened at all, like nada, whatever, like as if it was gathering all the, all the evidence it could, all the energy it could to just come at you and persecute you, and that's horrific. Yeah. Are you both religious? You and your partner, Tina, are you both like strong Christians?
We were raised Christian. I'm not gonna say we're strong Christians. We have a Christian belief. We don't go to church regularly. I mean, unfortunately, me and Tina broke up. Tina couldn't stay in the house anymore, and the Poltergeists did end our relationship. But prior to that, I think what kept us alive was our belief and our strength, but no way were we, I guess stringent religious people, but we were your average, I would say.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear you separated. Do you feel that caused a lot of the stress that you experienced there? Did it contribute to that? Right.
Yeah, the spirits in that home, and it was more than one. Like I said, the investigations that came, the teams who lived in the home, and uncovered a lot of stuff, and it was determined poltergeist. But once again, when people think poltergeist, they think one. No, there was multiple spirits in the home, and these spirits seem to be interested in breaking people up. Like I said, when Rhonda and her family were living there, when I found them in 2014, Rhonda, her and her husband had just got back together. They broke up in the home. She said the house destroyed our marriage. And she said, it feels weird to even talk to you now, Keith, because me and my husband just got back together. The house killed our marriage. And here you come talking about that crazy house. And we're trying to put that crazy house behind us. We're trying to move on with our lives. But she said, it's my Christian duty to tell you that house, and these are her words, not mine. She said the house is a living hell for the short period that they were there. She said it was beginning. She said the house felt like it was alive, and I can attest to that. And most people who live in a Poltergeist house can probably agree. Your location feels alive. It's like the house has a life and a mind of its own. No matter what room you walk in, you leave one room and walk into another room, you're still being observed. You're still being seen.
How can you have a relationship when you're being watched by about 3,000 people by the sounds of it in this house? And interesting, and I'm so sad that you split up, and I hear you totally. I've stayed in houses very similar to what you're talking about, and it does sound like, doesn't it, and feel like, which is probably why I was questioning you that way, of it seems to be happier when you and Tina weren't together, right? This is great. Thanks very much. See you later. We'll let you live your life now, but we're watching you.
Yeah,
It's a bit
I mean, the activity would spike after arguments, after disagreements.
right.
It would really kick into high gear. It would put objects in Tina's way and make her question me, like jewelry, like other women's jewelry. And Tina would ask me, "Where did this come from?" And I'm like, "I thought that was yours." And she's like, "No, it's not mine, but it's
So
a female."
Frame you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's doing the framing, it's doing the setting up, because it wants that dialogue. It wants you and your girlfriend or your wife to have animosity, to be on the defensive, because if we're arguing about each other, we're not concentrating on the poltergeist, you know. And if Tina is thinking that I'm being nefarious and I'm not 100% committed, then she's not going to be 100% committed to helping me get rid of the poltergeist. She's going to be thinking, well, screw that. I mean, we got this problem and you still got time to go fool around or whatever. So the poltergeist is putting all these things in our path, for that confrontation. And by the time you realize that you're being set up, it's too late. I always tell Tina, we can't trust anything we find in this house. I wouldn't even trust the clocks on our walls right now to tell me the time. I wouldn't even trust them, because nothing is as it seems. And if we're going to have a disagreement, we need to quietly leave the house and go have our disagreements clear across town, because in this house, they're always listening. They're always
multiple ones. My God, Keith, that's so fascinating. I could literally listen to you all day and talk about this all day. I'm sad that it's only an hour that we had you here for, but that is incredible. And you've got a book, haven't you?
Yeah, the Bothell Hell House, everything we talked about today and more, and all the evidence, the video of the apparition, the gray lady. The Bothell Hell House, it's in that book. So yeah.
We were talking about a grey lady the other week, weren't we, Jonathan? Because we were
saying that most places has a grey lady.
Yeah, most places have grey ladies, right? And we also thought that maybe the grey lady is quite a busy woman, that she goes here, there, and everywhere. So we can't help but have a smile when we think about a grey lady.
Yeah, and she's great. She was grey from head to toe, and she was not translucent. She turns off lights and takes off running. And yeah, it's just a weird. Like I said, I saw her several times with the naked eye, and you never live to think you would see something like that. But when you do, it changes you. It changes you. You try to tell people they don't understand, they think you're crazy, but you see it. And I see her multiple times, and yeah, so.
Get that. There's a lot of what we call hunters, right? And it's a bit like that. The seeing is believing thing, isn't it? It's that everybody expects to see to believe, right? And that's what hunting is all about. But when you see,
it's like walking through the woods by yourself, and you see something, and the first thing you want to do is either take a photo of it or tell your friends, but your friend's not there with you. So you're just frozen and you just absorb it. You're just like, oh. And when I saw the gray lady, I was frozen for it. I was like, oh, because there's nothing in your brain to digest that right away. You're just like, what is that? And then they take off running, and I took off running, but they disappeared. It disappeared. So, gray lady. And I just keep it simple. People, what did it look like? I like, it's a gray lady. That's it. It was a lady, and it was gray.
And that's say what you see at the end of the day. Keith, it has been an education. I am literally sat here with chills most of this conversation, right? The part for me, 2 parts, when your clothes set on fire, right? That's a different level. And when it followed you to the hotel room. What about you, Jonathan?
Yes, it showed that progression. The idea of, it was playing for fear. So the idea you're going to go to bed and you don't know if any object in your house is going to spontaneously combust into flames and put your life at risk. And also the consistency of it, the slowly gnawing away at your optimism, your faith, and it's like constant. So that it was really getting down to really to ebb you down and follow all the classic progressions to possession in terms of full demonic possession. It was going to weigh you down.
It's a beat down mentally, physically. It's like a shadow encroaching on you from all sides, and yeah, you're spent. You're literally mentally spent by the time it's done. You've exhausted all means. Half your friends don't want to see you anymore because they don't want the problem themselves. Churches don't really want to deal with you anymore because they've tried everything and nothing's not working. You're looking at your girlfriend has suspect because y'all don't really trust each other anymore, and it's just beating you down. I mean, I always tell people you never understand a haunting until you're trying to sleep and you're attacked while you're sleeping. I mean, think about the most two vulnerable times you are in your average day. You're vulnerable when you sleep, and you're vulnerable when you take a shower. Imagine a poltergeist invading you while you're taking a shower. Like, I'm taking a shower, and it's throwing objects in the shower with me, or it's turning off the light, slamming the door, or there's a fire in the other room. You're taking a shower, and there's a fire raging in the other room. The alarms go off.
5 kids. I know. Huh? It's worse than having 5 kids. Seriously.
Way worse, yeah.
Yeah. My God, Keith, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Guys, if you really need to go and get Keith's book, right? We are just like, even Jonathan and I are sitting on the edge of our seat here, aren't we?
We really appreciate the fact that you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to come and do this interview for us. So we really do appreciate that.
It's not the poltergeist, it's us trying to get you up. I know.
Keith, I really want another opportunity to talk to you about what happened once you started getting all the paranormal groups in. Zach from Ghost Adventures, but that's a whole nother story, which perhaps we'll program in the future, and we'll do it later for us, not as early for you.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, y'all want to do a part 2, part 3, or whatever? Yeah,
yes,
just let me know.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us, and stay safe.
Hey, that'll be good.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Whoa, wasn't that exciting?
Oh my God, Jonathan, wow. I'm beside myself, honestly, here. And of course, the house that I'm in right now at the moment, and we've had some weird goings on last night, right? Of course, it's not really the interview probably to have come after that, honestly. Not had much sleep myself. I said that I was fine, but actually, before I came on, I was saying to Ben, I heard some weird goings on. I heard lots of voices, and it sounded like I could hear music. And he tried to pass me off with the lodges down the way, and I'm thinking, somebody phoned me. I had my thing on airplane mode, and I also had a missed call from somebody, and all you hear is the footsteps in the background at 8 minutes past 3 in the morning. I know.
Lynn had been saying throughout that game, hearing a lot of background noises in deep voices here. And I thought that's probably the interview to actually point that one out, because if we're talking about demonic possession, it would be. I
want to say, and also Dominique said that a train is derailed in Scotland, so there has as well. So there's a lot of shit going down, basically. What can I say? And I think it's messing everything up. But until who have we got next week?
So we have got an interesting one, because we have Beth Darlington coming over, who's an Australian living in the UK, and she's going to be talking about the uniqueness of the paranormal in Australia. So we're talking about Australian paranormal investigations, which should be fascinating.
I was going to say, can we stand any more? We're already on the edge of our seat. Anyway, thanks for joining us this week, guys. It's been a blast, literally.
Indeed. Have a safe week, everyone, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.